Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about a fun little movie, indie movie called Locked. So this movie stars Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins, and this movie is directed by a guy named David Yarvosky. I hope I'm saying his name right. I am terrible, and I mean terrible, with name pronunciation, so forgive me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This is a small little indie thriller movie that kind of came out of nowhere. I think I saw one trailer for it was all, and I was like, that looks pretty good. So I'll go check that out. It intrigued me. This movie, you essentially follow Bill Skarsgård, who is a petty thief who breaks into people's cars and steals money and does things just to try to get by. And one day he sees this really nice SUV kind of parked out in this rough area, so he gets in, realizes that there's really nothing to take in there. So when he tries to get out, he realizes he's locked in and he can't get out. And this psychological cat and mouse game between him and Anthony Hopkins pursues. So I'm a pretty big fan of these like one location thriller movies, like Buried, the one with Ryan Reynolds where he's stuck in the box throughout the whole movie. I thought was awesome. I really enjoyed this movie. The one with Tom Hardy called Locked, or Lock. That one, where he's just in the car throughout the whole movie, having these phone conversations back and forth. I really enjoy movies like that. I just think, especially if they've got a strong story that keeps you on the edge of your seat, want to know what's going to happen throughout the whole movie. And I think it's the same way with Locked. It's this movie to where you don't know how this guy's going to get out of this, and this guy is essentially torturing him to because he's tired of the judicial system and how cops handle stuff and how they don't handle stuff. And so pretty much Anthony Hopkins was like, fuck it, I'll do it on my own. This movie's actually as well an American remake of a movie called 4x4, which I was unaware of until I think after I saw this movie. I remember seeing the title 4x4 pop up on like some streaming stuff and whatnot when I was browsing through stuff, but I never knew what it was. Obviously, for the performances in this movie, Bill Skarsgård, he's proven, time and time again that he's a fantastic actor. I've enjoyed pretty much everything that he's done. I wasn't huge on the Crow remake, but that really wasn't because of him. I just thought that the story was kind of weak, but he's been fantastic. I mean, we just had Nosferatu with him a few months ago, and of course he killed it in that. So it's nice to see him playing a somewhat normal person in this movie. And Anthony Hopkins, man, he's still got it. He's in this movie a lot more than I expected. I thought it was going to be more of like this cameo appearance where he pops up here and there, but he's actually in it for quite a bit, if not really almost the majority of the movie, because he's calling him throughout the movie, and he's then he pops up kind of near in the third act, and he's kind of about in the entire third act. And I think both actors, they play off of each other very well. You believe in this situation, and the one thing I do really enjoy is I like that it takes you on this character arc with this journey of this character arc with this character of Eddie, who Bill Skarsgård plays, where, like I said at the beginning, he plays this thief, and along the way he starts to learn what's really important to him. He's got an ex-girlfriend and a daughter, and of course along the way he learns that his daughter obviously is the most important thing. And I think that's part of the lesson that Anthony Hopkins wants him to learn, along with other lessons that I don't want to give away. But that's one arc that I really enjoy, that I'm glad a movie like this where you have a story arc, because when you introduce a character like that, there's a reason they need to go through something like this. Because I feel like if you make them go through it for nothing, there's no point at the end of the story. There's like, okay, well, what the hell was the entire purpose of that? Because the dude either had no arc, nothing changed, and they're still the same person. Where when they come out on the other end with a lesson learned, I feel that it makes the movie way more enjoyable and more rewarding in the end. For some people, this movie might be a little slow to start out with, because for the first 30, 45 minutes maybe, it's really just him trapped in the car having these conversations back and forth between Anthony Hopkins, which in that time he's like freezing him to death, starving him to death, dehydration, then he'll like turn the heat on and like literally cook him to death. So it's like this slow psychological torture through the first half of it. But I don't know, it's something for me. I was intrigued because I was curious to know what was going to happen to this guy and if he was going to get out of this situation. Then, as the movie progresses, more things start to happen, and there's actually some blood and gore in this that I was not expecting midway through. I was like, wow, that just kind of happens out of nowhere. So there's a little bit of that in there for some horror fans that are looking forward to that. There's a little bit, and then kind of the middle part of the movie that kind of sneaks up on you and comes out of nowhere. That was really interesting. I think this movie, too, it's got a lot to say about the rich and the poor and society, how society, is treated from poor and rich and all that stuff like that. It's a very social commentary of that intertwined throughout this movie because, of course, Anthony Hopkins is a super-duper rich guy, and Bill Skarsgård is this, guy trying to get by. He's not doing it the correct way, but, he's doing what he can to try to get by. And it touches on subjects like that throughout, and it has a needle thread throughout this movie that kind of stays with it all the way to the end. I think the biggest thing for this movie is how much you can kind of suspend your disbelief when it comes to certain things, especially with the car, the whole situation with the car, because there's certain stuff that is done in this car that I'm like, how in the hell did you find anybody to build you a car like this? To me, Tony Stark would have to exist in this universe for a car to be built like this. Like, I get it. You're rich, you got money, you can take this thing to people to be built and all that stuff like that. But there's some stuff that is able to be done in this car that I'm like, how? I'm like, there's so you kind of have to shut your brain off from all that and just be like, okay, I'm along for this ride. Let me set that aside. Just take me on this. Let me have a good time with it and enjoy it. So it depends on if you're one of those people that cannot turn that part of your brain off, that you're like, no, I have to know how this works. I have to know how this is possible. I don't think it's going to work for you because you'll be able to pick this movie apart from the minute he gets into that car. Because you're going to be like, how the hell is that possible? How did he do that? How did he rig that up? How's that? So just know who you are. And as I said before, I think this movie, it does a really good job of being this bottleneck thriller because you are on the edge of your seat, but I think what adds to that is the fact that you do care about Bill Skarsgård. You want him to get back to his daughter. You want him to change. You want him to feel genuine in his change, like not just saying that he changed just to get out of the situation. So all that really works with thriller because there's certain moments in this movie where you are like tense and on the edge of your seat because you're like, oh my God. So it does really well because I think you care about the character. If you didn't care about the character at all, I don't think it would have really worked. But Bill Skarsgård's got that charisma about him where you just can't help but to like him. So I think that adds to a lot of the movie as well. And it just does a damn good job of being this fun little thriller for 90 minutes. This is a movie that I don't think, like I said, I don't even know if anybody's heard of this movie. I don't think it had any marketing whatsoever. If it did, it was very little. Like I said, I saw one trailer for it. I think I don't even remember the movie I went to go see. It just happened to pop up, and I was like, oh, Bill Skarsgård, and then never heard of it before, and then I saw the trailer, and I was like, that actually looks pretty awesome. I might want to check that out. And I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's still playing in theaters anywhere. If it is, go have fun with it. Check it out. If not, just wait. It'll probably be on VOD. If it's not already on VOD by the time this comes out, it's worth the price to rent it or buy it. It's just this good little fun, like rainy day thriller. That's the best way to put it. And while, yes, it's nothing special, it's something we've seen before, I think it merits it just for the thrill ride and the performances from the actors and just the ride it takes you on. It merits it for that. So I would check it out just for that. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review. If you have seen Locked, please comment below and let me know what you thought about it down below. As always, please comment, subscribe if you like what I'm doing over here. And as always, please check out my other 2025 reviews if you will. I'll have cards for that up here somewhere. And as always, I will see all of you in the next one. Thank you so much.